one of the reasons I started advocating too was I actually drove myself to the hospital at one point with I was in a mental health crisis, and I drove from my small town to the city of Regina into the hospital, and which was really it was tough to do as a man. Like I don't want to make this a gender thing, but as a man who's from a small town in the prairies, to say, holy shit, I have a mental health issue, I need help. That's a rare thing. So it was like, okay, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone here, and I'm actually going to ask for help for my brain. And I drove to Regina, and I was suicidal. I went into the emergency room, and I sat there for hours, and people came in and out every 20 minutes and asked me the same 15 questions. And then finally someone came in who was a psychiatrist and basically said, well, did you attempt suicide? And I was like, no, but I want to die. And he's like, well, okay, well, unless you've committed suicide, we can't bring you into the hospital.
What do you tell them? Like, you have to tell them exactly what you attempted? Was that what they're expecting?
I guess, so I was like, well, yeah, okay, I have an attempt. He's like, do you have a plan? I'm like, I have like 10 plans. Like, it depends where I am in the day. You know what I mean? And he's like, okay, well, just promise me you won't hurt yourself. Keep taking your meds. I was already on meds. Keep seeing your counselor, bye. I'm like, okay. So then I felt really embarrassed. I felt embarrassed that I went to the hospital because, like I said, it took a lot for me to actually ask for help just to be told.
They just shunned you.
Yeah, it was like, oh, you're just being silly. Go home. That's what it felt like, right? So I was like, holy shit. So then I stopped asking for help. So for the next year, I just spiraled downwards to the point that I did have a suicide attempt. I ended up having like 3 police officers grapple me, and I tried to stab my brother, and it just turned into a shit show. So then it was almost exactly a year later. I'm back in the hospital, this time handcuffed in an ambulance with the police, carrying me into the hospital.
So even after all that, they were still contemplating if they should let you in.
They were wondering, like, maybe they should just charge him with, resisting arrest and all this other stuff. And they were like, so you were going to put me in jail for the weekend instead? That was the other option instead of just giving me the fucking help I asked for a year ago.
Yeah,
I was going to say that was like 10 years ago, and then I did a lot of advocating, and we ended up getting a mental health minister that I helped petition for, and there was rallies and stuff. So mental health became more talked about thing in my province. But 2 years ago, I was like a university kid, went to the same hospital I went to in Regina. Same thing happened to him. He left. An hour later, he was found floating in the Regina Creek because he took his life. Like, so nothing's changed. Nothing's changed? Like, why? So that was pretty discouraging.
Ashamed from that? Did they?
Oh, they got sued, yeah. Because security actually took him out, kicked him out, because he was having like a psychotic episode, and he was like, he was being weird. He was having a psychotic episode. He was suicidal and stuff, and they just...
And they pushed him out.
They pushed him out, and an hour later he's found dead. But they're, the governments are out, both federal, provincial governments are always, patting each other on the back about how much more money they're putting into mental health and stuff. But they're not listening to the people, the boots on the ground, saying where to put the money, because that's against their ideology or whatever. I'm wearing a shirt right now. This is for harm reduction. So there's a place in Saskatoon. It's a safe injection site and a harm reduction place, and it doesn't matter what political party, everybody's donating to them, but the government will not give them a cent because it's against their ideology. And we're in the middle of a fentanyl crisis in Saskatchewan. I mean, the last 3 years we've broke records on overdoses in the province, but yet they just keep putting more treatment beds open. But if you're dead, you can't go to treatment.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So what
sorry, I'm getting all hot.
Don't worry.
No, it's okay. Good. We like it.
Let it out.
Yeah, let it. We want the raw, opinions. But I just want to understand. So the reason they don't, want to admit you until you've reached that last point of attempting suicide, what is the reason? Is it a lack of, just resources?
Yeah, they're like because the first time I went, they said like our beds are all full. So that's how many people had attempted suicide, I guess, recently. It's to the point that the beds were full. Yeah, and so I ended up meeting because of that meeting, I ended up meeting the the CEO of the health region, and he said, yeah, this like, even he said like, yeah, it's bullshit. Like I had to lay off all these people, which is part of that letter I wrote and stuff. And he's like, what can I do? My hands are tied. Like I've only got so much budget, and we only have so many beds. And I thought, but so then I said, okay, well maybe I didn't need the hospital, but there was no other, like it's either you're at home or you're in the hospital. There's no in between services
Yeah.
that you could say like, maybe here's an outpatient service you could do, maybe go there every day and have these courses or whatever. Like, I mean, there was just nothing. Just go home and keep doing what you're doing. That was the option.
Yeah, I mean, why only the hospital? Shouldn't there be other sorts of therapy,
Yeah.
counseling, or just groups that you can join?
Some kind of support at least. I mean,
some sort of support group. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
it's
Bananas.
weird because it's almost like they're almost like normalizing, having those suicidal thoughts. Like you go to the hospital, it's like not enough for them. Like, okay, you're having these suicidal thoughts. It's not, convincing enough. You need to like,
Did you
Hack
try
your
to
did you
kill
try
yourself?
it? Like
Yeah,
that sounds like ridiculous to me.
I was like, but what if I'm successful?
Yeah, exactly. What if you are successful and
So
obviously
you want me to fail trying to kill myself for then, for
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.